Anyway, I guess we should talk about racing. So,
Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
That's gonna be my road to pro moment of the week. I beat Andrew Hennessy.
we're just gonna open it with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
We gotta do the off-season Oofsides thing pretty soon.
Yeah, we do. That's gonna be
It's a lot. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to look back to March and be like, oh fuck, what happened over the last 4 months?
Oh my god! Remember when that was the big story?
Yeah.
Anyways,
Make like a 15-page sheet, like a fucking goddamn paper in college.
yeah.
I'm gonna need to remind myself that I'm a NASCAR employee. I cannot just rip rumors out of my ass and throw them out here. So I'll try to not do that.
Well, speaking of Oofsides, though, we're back for another special episode of the Offracers Podcast. I'm your host, standing in today, Matthew Steelman. Joe's feeling under the weather. Davey is out of town he's on his pilgrimage to Dewey's house. Which, speaking of which, Dewey Schramm back in the Robert Richardson III studio again. Welcome back.
Hey.
And longtime listeners of Oofsides might recognize the other voice. It's Austin Spencer. Welcome to, I guess, another one of our shows.
Yeah, first time. I haven't been here since the Maverick departure. So.
Oh, that's been a hot minute.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, first time, long time. Anyway,
Long-time listener, first-time panelist?
Yeah.
Like that guy who was commenting every week about wanting to be on the show. Cat's on the show as well. Hi, Ziggy.
Yeah.
He's our producer. Sitting in for Bristol today. Anyway, NASCAR was in Atlanta, or should I say at Echo Park, at a used car dealership for... oh god, what was the name of the race? Wow, I'm not prepared at all. The Quaker State 400 available at Walmart. That's what it was. And Chase Elliott gets back to victory lane at his home track. Sound the horn at the Dawsonville pool room, because we all care so much about that, don't we?
Down the siren.
I didn't even get it right. It's a siren. It's not the horn.
You're really not prepared today, man.
No, I'm feeling stupid. It's like 106 degrees outside, and I currently have my air conditioning turned off so it doesn't pick up on my mic, so it's getting rapidly hotter in my room. But yeah.
He's hotboxing himself for the podcast.
I'm on that grind, dude. But yeah, Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman, they teamed up on Brad Keselowski at the end of this race, and Chase Elliott gets back to victory lane. First time in over a year he's won. What did you guys think of the race?
Well, I gotta say, I enjoy the direction Atlanta is going. I'm glad that handling is mattering more and more. But I still think we should have just done this to Texas, and I would be a lot happier. Because I know I'm real what if man here, but I tell you what, the old Atlanta configuration would put on absolute bangers with the wide surface and the old layout. But I will say, I would say that that big wreck actually helped the racing, and is a big reason why it was so enjoyable to watch at the end.
You pretty much hit every point I was going to make.
If good.
I had started perfectly, agree completely with the track, and that I'd have been happier with it being done to somewhere else. But the way it's aging, and the way that these guys have to actually use more strategy now and racing craft to make passes than when this first started 3 years ago, it's already making for some much better racing. It's made for, those last 50 laps are some of the most phenomenal passes I think I've ever seen in a race.
Yeah, and like what you're mentioning about the the experience and the skill coming into play, guys like Zane Smith and Alex Bowman were able to make moves and get up front, but it was consistently Keselowski and Elliott and these guys who have won races on these big tracks like that just kept recycling back to the front. And then fittingly, it was Keselowski versus Elliott on the final lap for the race win.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it leveled the playing field for sure for everybody, but it still made sense that the guys that have done it longer and know how to do it more than anybody else were still the ones that ended up finishing up there.
Yeah,
and like Stenhouse getting up there and mixing it up too. He's notorious for always getting up there on plate tracks.
It reminds me a lot of the like 90s style of plate racing, where the field would be very strung out and you'd kind of have to build up these runs a lap or two in advance, but you could still almost pull like slide jobs on people because handling was still really important. And you definitely see the cream rise to the top in the field. And like what you're saying about like the reconfigure of this track, it really feels like that meme of like, oh, we don't have to pit these two bad bitches against each other. Like having new Atlanta and old Atlanta would be pretty cool. It's just a shame we had to lose old Atlanta for this.
Yeah, and another thing I want to say about the big wreck, I think that it really could have been mitigated if we just had a practice session. I mean, in stage 1, it was a bore fest because everyone got out there and their cars drove awful because the track has changed so much since they were there last, and they didn't have a practice to figure that out. And I think that's a big reason why the Xfinity cars, especially, with less experienced teams and less notes, that's why we saw so many wrecks, is because these guys are getting in cars that they haven't driven in a pack until right now.
I still don't know why we do this with the limited practice. I don't really think it saves a ton of money for the teams. No. It just seems like it creates more of a headache, and for these guys who are rookies, or somebody like Shane Van Gisbergen who's trying to like relearn how to race, like you're just chucking him into the wolves and be like, just figure it out. That's fine.
Yeah, and one of your biggest rising stars, Connor Zilic, is we're gonna get to it in a minute, but he will most likely be Cup Series racing either next year, and if not next year, definitely the year after. How's he gonna learn when he gets involved in a wreck? He didn't Saturday night somehow, but if he gets involved in that big wreck, he learned how to drive an awfully handling car in 36th, and that's it. Like he learns nothing.
Yeah, well, he did get a little bit of damage from it, but it ended up not affecting him that much. But speaking of which, though, like this was a night of big runs for underdogs because Zilic comes home 11th. You had, the top 5, or not top 5 streak, but the good runs continue. Eric Jones, P5. Stenhouse made a mad charge up to P6 at the end. Zane Smith gets a top 10. Ty Dillon, Carson Hocevar with another top 10. And this all kind of tied into the first race of the in-season challenge, which I would like to point out that Davey and I called the first round upset by Ty Dillon.
Yeah, me too.
So, and we were talking about this because the next race is Chicago, which has a very good chance of being rainy. And anybody who remembers like previous Roval races, Ty Dillon is very good in the rain for some reason. And I can't remember what the third round Sonoma. Good luck getting rain there. So, but he could be facing off against, I don't know, John Hunter Nemechek or Ricky Stenhouse. So that's a crapshoot. Oh yeah, and then the final round is Indianapolis, which where's Ty Dillon's only Xfinity Series win at, by the way?
Yeah.
So
don't remind me.
We're going all the way. I'm calling it right now. Us tie heads. We're feasting right now.
Starting the in-season challenge at the track that they did was devious work.
Yeah, and I mean, it's TNT's whole deal, and I am sure they are very happy with the outcome. I mean, created a lot of drama, and even if the drivers aren't taking it like super duper seriously, I mean, it still has created something that the race otherwise wouldn't have had, which I don't know if it was necessary, but you can't say it's not fun. I mean, they've done a great job. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that video of McDowell and Allmendinger during the driver intros. They faked a fight, and it was really funny.
Did they really? Oh, I'll have to go look that up.
McDowell Allmendinger walked over and shoved him. McDowell shoved him. They shoved each other. McDowell threw his drink at him or whatever. It was really funny.
Yeah, there was.
Bubba, sorry. Bubba got in a little bit of trouble for flipping off Suarez up there too. He did like the little like the pop-up box thing. I don't know what you call that. Like where you wind it up and it rolls.
Oh, Jack in the Box. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Middle finger.
That's so good. But yeah, there was no shortage of first round upsets. We got Ty Dillon upset Denny Hamlin, which, I mean, a lot of this had to do with the massive crash on the backstretch. We had Eric Jones upset Ross Chastain. Stenhouse upset Bell. Gragson over Briscoe. So the 31 and 32 seeds both made it out of the first round.
Stenhouse is a 29 seed too.
Yeah, Priest over Byron, which I know Priest was seeded higher, but I think we would all pick Byron probably for this race considering his record here. Hocevar over Blaney. We had, and like we mentioned, Stenhouse as well. Zane Smith over Austin Cindric. I think that's another big one. So it's interesting, and I think it's working out really well. Where this in-season challenge, it's like putting a spotlight on guys who might not be battling for the win, but it's going to make it interesting. So I think
and shout out to Ty Dillon for his post-race interview too. That was,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I knocked out your favorite driver.
Yeah. And one more thing I want to talk about is Eric Jones. We are all aware of how bad Legacy started the year. Not only have both of their cars shown speed, John Hunter already has a career best in top fives in a season in the Cup Series. But Eric Jones, 8 races ago, was 30th in points, and he is now 15th above the cut line. I mean,
goddamn,
that is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, so he's like the last 6 races, his worst finish is 17th. He has been on fire as of late.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up one other point for this in-season challenge too. So if you go to NASCAR's website and you bring up the bracket, each of the matchups for Chicago is color-coded for the particular drivers that are facing off against each other. And their windshields are going to be colored according to what it says on the website. So we are going to have 9 different colored windshields at Chicago.
See, I noticed that when I was looking at it too, because one of the things, that was kind of an idea I had when I was watching the race, is because they were all yellow banners, and I was like, I wish they were like color coordinated so you could see who's battling each other. And then sure enough, that's what they're doing. So I think that's pretty cool too.
But then all the guys that got eliminated just have the regular black ones. So front row this week is going to have a different colored windshield for each of their 3 cars.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Cup race?
I don't know. I was happy to see Chase Elliott happy. Not personally a Chase Elliott fan for every reason that everyone else that has issues with him has issues with him. But I don't know. It was cool to see him happy. He seemed to really actually care and enjoy winning. Because he's won in Atlanta before, and we got the same Chase Elliott we usually get, but we got a very happy and relieved Chase Elliott, and I really liked that.
Oh yeah.
It was also really cool to see the girl that designed his paint scheme for this week be able to come out onto the front stretch and join him during the post-race interview. That part was like really, really cool to me too.
Yeah.
And shout out to Marty Snyder for being incredible at his job, for noticing and including her in the post-race.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was super cool. A couple other notes from the race. Huge points day for Alex Bowman after they had a terrible skid to start the summer. That's 2 great finishes in a row. Another bad finish for Bubba. They just cannot catch a break right now. And just like what we were saying earlier this season, like he's going to find himself right on the bubble. Not really any fault of his own, because you'd think P13 in points would be safe, but
yeah,
that's the kind of season we're having so far.
We have 11 winners.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at guys on the outside, like Hocevar could very much win a race with how good they've been. Eric Jones could. Ryan Priest could. Ty Dillon's going to win Indy. So
I was going to say, all 3 of the RFK cars could totally win a race. They've had the speed lately.
Oh, yeah. Didn't even mention that. This is 2 weeks in a row of huge missed opportunities for Brad.
Yeah, and Tyler Reddick, if we're going to talk about missed opportunities.
Yeah, that too. Which luckily he's pretty safe on points for now.
Yeah.
Barring 4 new winners. But, you know, that's one that you're going to be looking back on and kicking yourself.
Still a little bit concerning, though, that we're halfway through the season and 2311 is yet to win a race.
They've been, like, sneaky not great this year. Which I think the, like, discrepancy in speed between Reddick and Wallace has been a lot closer. But Bubba just
cannot... the follow-up to Riley Earpst is...
Yeah, it's the gap between them's gotten closer. The gap to the third car has gotten bigger. But Bubba just cannot finish these races, and a lot of them are not his fault, but they have just been snake bitten for the last handful of weeks.
It's been rough because Bubba deserves better, and I gotta commend him. He's done a great job at fixing his mental. I always thought that was his biggest flaw as a driver, was his mental state, and just his perspective on things, and being so hard on himself. So hard on himself. And unfortunately, he's having the worst luck he's ever had while fixing his mental state. That's just a rough spot to be in.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think if there's any other notable stuff from this race. Not really coming to mind. Big wreck for Ryan Blaney early in the race, too. Their season has been majorly feast or famine.
Thank God he won Nashville.
Yeah.
on that wave, all 3 Penske cars finished 36th or worse.
Yeah, and Barry, too. He was in that wreck as well.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I mean, Cindric won stage 1 and then got swept right up in it. So I thought the 2 was going to be one of the favorites. Like, I thought all 3 Penske cars, obviously, but...
Oh, yeah, the top 7 was a Ford lockout in qualifying.
And then, like, what, 4 or 5 of them were just gone because of that wreck?
Yes. Yeah, all 4 of the Penske developed cars. Rest in peace to the guy that bet $100,000 on Corey LaJoie to win the race.
That was so funny because I saw Corey's tweet and just said, like, gonna pay some bills, and I was like, man, if he wins, that's the greatest called shot of all time.
Yeah,
and then he's just in a fucking, like, a race car custard in turn 3.
That's a great way to put that.
Yeah. That's still one of the funniest big ones I've seen in a while. Gosh. But yeah, Cup race at Atlanta. Very good. Xfinity Series. Nick Sanchez gets, I was going to say Big Machine Records first win, but it's not. Tyler Reddick has it. First by a full-time driver. His first career win as well. He fends off Carson Kvapil and Jesse Love late in the race to get his first career win. I feel like I'm kind of bummed that Davey's not here for this, because Davey is a huge Parker Kligerman fan, and we saw how many times Parker got close to winning in the last 2 years, including at this track, and then his replacement steps in and wins. And I know Parker was saying, like, this is awesome, I'm so happy for those guys, but, like, you gotta also be really mad if you're Davey.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. Parker did win. He actually won last year.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I was there, and I saw it in person, actually.
He did also win Daytona this year, so you're kind of making
He did.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and, you know, the Xfinity Series is still... I just don't know how to feel about it at this track. It's definitely not as exciting as the Cup Series, and I think part of that is just the package that Xfinity runs at these places. I mean, they've done a lot of work, and it's gotten a lot better at Daytona and Talladega. But, man, that lead car has so much power. When you have a bunch of damaged cars out there, it can really be hard to build momentum and build runs. And we saw that at the end there. I mean, no one could really do anything, and everyone was just kind of happy with where they were at, and that led to a maybe not as exciting finish. You know, no one flipped, so it sucked, is what I'm saying. But but no, I definitely think that race deserved a better finish, but everyone was just hurt and struggling there at the end. And it was like, what, 1 in the morning when that race ended? Everyone wanted to go to bed.
Yeah, it was late.
There was a pretty sizable wreck towards the beginning of that race too, that definitely threw a wrench into how much they were able to move around and everything. But I don't really remember much from the second half of the race because I was on a Benadryl for it, because I needed to go to sleep to drive to Lime Rock.
You're fighting off the Hat Man.
Literally, I don't really remember much after like the end of stage 1, so it just happened, I think.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I unfortunately didn't get to see most of this race. But yeah, like what you're mentioning, there's something missing with the Xfinity package on super speedways, it feels like. My theory is super narrow spoilers that they have. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. But yeah, the pushers, they really struggle to get up to the lead car. It reminds me a lot of like the early like Gen 6 Aero package, where they still had the real long bumper extensions and the short spoilers, and it doesn't seem like it punches a very big hole for the trailing car to get up to him. And if you're Austin Hill and you know how to lead a pack, it's the best package in the world.
Right, yeah.
Which I think that is one of the things that did save this race, is Austin Hill had fuel pickup issues and lost a bunch of laps, and so we just didn't have to deal with him just like controlling the field the whole time. Because we talked about this after Daytona, how like infuriating it looked to watch like Sheldon Creed and Sam Mayer. They would build up a run over the course of like 3 laps and then have to plan it super strategically and get the lead, and then Austin Hill would just drive right back by him.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
that's got to be infuriating as a driver.
yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Which to me makes it funnier that an RCR developed car still won the race.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. And I mean, Jesse Love literally had a giant hole in the front of his car and was the only one making solo moves besides Nick Sanchez. And I mean, it was just, yeah, they've clearly got something figured out too over there at RCR.
Yeah.
But I will say this race was just kind of plagued. It never really got to get going because it was delayed by rain and lightning twice. The average green flag run was 10 laps. Almost 40% of the race was under caution. I mean, they just kept wrecking and spinning. And like I said earlier, that the handling issue could have been solved if they just had a 30-minute practice to go run one session in the draft. Would have fixed a lot of handling problems for a lot of teams, I'm sure. They're smart enough. I mean, it wouldn't take much, and I think that would really benefit the racing here. Especially in the Xfinity series.
Yeah, agreed. Bring back practice.
Like, I understood the restrictions on it during the COVID year and all that, but like, starting in 2022 again, why wasn't it just back to the way it was before?
I don't know.
I know the teams reported savings and stuff, but how much are you saving if it results in a wrecked race car because you didn't know what you were unloading with? Like that's, I mean, maybe that's, I don't know all the background of it and everything, so maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I mean, these guys wrecked like 6 cars on lap 3. I don't know. I feel like it could have been prevented.
But what exactly are you saving money on? Like just a tire set or two?
Well, yes, a tire set. The travel for all the people to be there, because a decent amount of weekends that are not within driving distance to Charlotte, everyone would have to be there a day earlier. I mean, all the staff that work and prep the track, all the safety, like, everyone that works there. I mean, a ton of people work a race weekend, and everyone would have to be there earlier, so you're paying them more. And the broadcaster would broadcast it, and that costs money. There's a million moving parts, and it probably does save money, but I don't know. We can't live in a perfect world, I suppose. But yeah, bring back practice.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then finally, Corey Lime wins at Heimrock Park.
Heimrock.
Yeah. Did anything happen in this race?
So not much of anything, but that being said, because if it wasn't clear already, I attended this race. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive 2.5 hours out there, and I showed up about half an hour before truck qualifying started. And while I didn't see a whole lot, because since there's so much elevation and everything, you obviously can't see a majority of the track from any one place, so you're bound to miss stuff that does happen. It is still a beautiful facility to have racing at. Like, not a lot happened on the track, and it was in the middle of fucking nowhere in Connecticut, but it is one of the most gorgeous settings for a race I've ever seen in my life. It is just surrounded by just miles and miles of rolling hills and just trees. It is so, so pretty. And if they ever go back there again, I'd love to see it in the fall when the foliage starts, because that would be just an absolute gorgeous background for any kind of racing like that. But yeah, no, Corey Heim just wiped the floor with the entire field. That's about all that was. Cool to see Jordan Taylor qualify up there and run well for the majority of the race before Chandler Smith decided to use him as a brake pedal. Nice to see local guy Dill Quarterly show up and run both trucks and ARCA over the weekend. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that's about all there was.
Yeah. Also, shout out name of the week, Wesley Slimp.
Yeah. They
yeah,
had a rough weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, he caught on fire in practice and had to race in a backup truck, and the backup truck was not very fast.
No.
Yeah,
he got lapped a couple of times under green.
It also blew up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just not a good weekend for the old Slimp God.
Yeah, it seems like everybody involved with running the race thought it was a success. They drew in really good numbers.
I think the most they've ever gotten for a race there at any point.
I wonder,
just in terms of on-track product, I don't think it was quite what they were hoping for.
Yeah, and I wonder how much of that is Corey Heim is just purely on another level this year, and this track wasn't well fit for trucks. So I hope we come back so we can get another look at it, because Corey more than likely won't be in trucks next year. So I guess we'll have to wait and see.
And I left before ARCA started because I was just exhausted and wanted to go home. But the people that watched ARCA were telling me that it was a much better race than trucks were.
Yeah,
and now the JGR car didn't win.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Well, that's because he got a penalty. He was gonna win.
Shout out Thomas Annunziata for winning his first ARCA race.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say of the people I work with that I know went there said it was a lot better than the broadcast showed. It as I
that
watched
certainly didn't help.
I watched half the race, and genuinely I think Fox brought maybe 6 or 7 cameras.
Jesus.
Lime Rock has 7 corners, so you can't do that. Yeah, there were not very many cameras. The broadcast. Okay, here's what gets me. They flew Mike Joy out to the track to do an open about the history of the track, and then they commentated from remote from the studio.
What?
So that doesn't make a lot of sense either. Now, trust me, I know Mike Joy probably wanted to go out there. It was a great open, because obviously that's his home track. He's raced there. He knows everything about the place. But the effort level has got to go up, because we've seen what the broadcasts in Cup have compared to Fox's Cup broadcasts, and this week was another Knoxville situation where the broadcast
a couple things just happened. They missed it.
And the only things that happened they didn't have a real replay of the big wreck in the first corner. They had one replay, and you could see the start of it, and that was it. They gotta do better, because they're not helping this series out at all.
Why did NASCAR re-up with Fox? I genuinely don't understand how they can look at how bad their broadcasts have been for the last half decade and be like, yeah, we'll sign a new contract.
Yeah, I'm really not sure. And I think with this new deal with Prime and TNT, I think over the course of this broadcast deal, it will become painfully evident that there's an outlier, and the other partners can expand easily to cover the ground that would be lost by Fox leaving.
I was gonna say the Prime broadcasts were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the first TNT one was also pretty solid, and the CW's been knocking it out of the park with Xfinity so far. And then there's Fox.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been rough.
But on that note, I would violate the Geneva Convention to be able to watch a race and talk to Mike Joy during it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just to hear stories.
Just one of the greatest people this sport has ever seen, and it pains me that he's winding down his career with a company that could not give a quarter of a fuck about what the broadcast looks like.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm sure. Sorry, I'm sure you guys have talked about it in here, but it's very evident that he's been tired of their shit occasionally. This season in some of their broadcasts.
That is exactly what I was going to mention, because I've seen a lot of people talk about Mike Joy and they're like, I think he's losing it. And I'm like, no, I think he just hates working with Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick. Like,
yeah,
because
I think he's fine with Kevin. It's just when they get up there, it's a shit show.
Because I mean, you have terrible direction from Fox. And then you have, like, Larry, Darrell, and Mike had great chemistry with each other. And I think we really still lack having a crew chief in the booth, right?
Absolutely.
Because what is Clint Boyer going to bring to the booth that Kevin Harvick isn't, besides excitement, right? And I'm not saying that excitement doesn't belong in the booth. Like, Darrell Waltrip was a great example in his prime of balancing those two things. But the problem is you have Clint Boyer, who I don't even think is terrible in a vacuum. I think he plays up the character way too much because, like, Kevin is so fucking dry next to him. That
it feels like he's trying to be Cletus McFarlane, but in the booth. Yeah,
it feels like that. And I think Mike Joy is just, like, exhausted from having to, like, try to wrangle Clint Boyer around. And
it's not his style.
Yeah, and also having to deal with the fact that Fox just doesn't show any of the shit that he wants to talk about. Because, like, again, it's not like he and McReynolds and Darrell Waltrip didn't talk over each other, but it's like DW and Larry Mack could call play-by-play competently. Like, Boyer will just randomly drop all energy. It's like he doesn't do... He's not good at play-by-play, but he, like, still steps all over Mike Joy, and I've got to imagine that's why he seems kind of checked out.
I can say as a commentator, I've been pretty lucky with who I've had by me when I've had people by me when I was doing it. But yeah, if you don't have chemistry with someone and they don't realize that they are stepping all over you when you're supposed to be the lead, it can become really frustrating, especially if it's been communicated that it's an issue, which I'm sure it has in that situation.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he went on Harvick's podcast, and they openly talked about how the booth is handled and how they don't like it. I mean, it wasn't like a secret, and they didn't tiptoe around it. God. So, yeah, I'm sure Mike is incredibly frustrated with that, and it's making him lose his steam more quickly than he otherwise would.
Yeah. And, like, even if he was, like, losing a step, he's goddamn Mike Joy. He's earned the right to phone it in if he wants.
Yeah.
It's like Mike Joy at 60% is still better than so many other people.
Yeah,
he's like 76 years old. If he has an off week, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been doing this longer than most of the people bitching have been alive.
It's like, obviously this person I'm about to compare him to is nowhere close to the same level of stature as him. But are you guys familiar with the Angry Video Game Nerd?
Yeah. Yeah.
So James Rolfe made free shit for people for 20 years, and people complain that he doesn't make enough of it now. And it's like, dog, he's been doing it to you for free this whole time. He can do it, like, he has fucking kids now. Like, he can make them as slow as he wants. Show some goddamn respect. That's how I feel about Mike Joy. Like, Mike Joy called some of the best races of all time. Like, and you probably didn't pay a cent to hear it. Chill out.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think one other thought I have is I think Fox at the start of the NBC era, when they entered the sport to replace ESPN, saw the way Dale was in the booth and how he was able to break things down and also be a fan and show that raw excitement, and they told Boyer to do that, and they've lost the leash, I think might be a good way to put it.
I think you saw it a bit with Jeff Gordon in the booth prior to that, too.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon was very much a hire for his name and not necessarily his, like, media credentials. Because, like, no disrespect to Jeff Gordon, but Jeff is not a big personality. He, like, his thing was he like, shook the NASCAR world in the 90s because he was so, like, soft-spoken, and he wasn't like a good old Southern boy like so many other ones. Like, he was just, like, a quiet dude from Indiana, you know? So...
Yeah.
Which, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, is that the type of person that's going to succeed the most in a booth? Maybe not.
Yeah, especially when you put him next to Darrell Waltrip.
Like, I think, like, honestly, Chase Elliott reminds me a lot of him. Where I think, Chase Elliott, I think Chase Elliott would probably be a great podcast guest when his career is over. Do I want to see Chase Elliott in the booth for a race? Not really.
Yeah. Actually, no.
He's
Perfect way to describe that. Chase would be a great podcast guest, not a good podcast host.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's Lime Rock.
Yeah, that was that was the Corey Heim Invitational.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day they take that truck to R&D. That's all I will say.
It's got nitrous in it.
Even if there is nothing wrong with it, I think it's pretty clear to almost anybody watching that 11 is just a step above every other Tricon entry, regardless of who is actually in the car.
Yeah.
Like, that 11 is just so souped up, even compared to his teammates. It's fucking nuts. Like, obviously, Corey Heim is the best driver on that team, and that is no disrespect to anybody on that team, whatever, but you can still clearly tell that the 11's getting way better shit than the 17, the 15, the 1, and the 5 are. And especially the 5.
Yeah.
And I will say, Corey Heim may not be in trucks full-time next year, but you know who will? Brent Cruz. And that truck will be the exact same.
I was going to say, Brent Cruz would not shock me at all if he gets that 11 next year, and if he does, more the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he's already good. I mean, he ran top 10 this weekend. He ran top 5, I think, at North Wilkesboro. That kid's going to be real good when he gets
and
a
I mean,
chance.
he was going to win the ARCA race until he got that, I think it was a restart violation or something.
And he won the Phoenix race earlier in the year, too. So he's
Yeah,
already
Brent
proven
Cruz-
that he's got the talent.
He
Next man up.
Friend of the show, Old Jag, has been a big fan of his since the Millbridge days. Brent Cruz has been running there for years and years because I think he's from Davidson or Cornelius. He's from this area, and he's been racing since he was a kid at Millbridge. And I mean, he's at 12 years old. He's been beating grown men. So it's writing has been on the wall for years. And Toyota, of course, has gotten another natural talent in their arsenal.
Yeah.
Don't ask him about Corey Day.
Yeah,
Oof.
we won't do that.
Yeah, so that'll be an important part of the silly season to drop when we find out, because I think we all know where Corey Heim's probably going next year.
Yeah.
But there was a major part of the silly season that dropped this week, so let's go from the shop. That's our sound effect that we have, because I've been too lazy to download anything that sounds like Tool. And Joe was just like, that's fine, just deal with it.
That's awesome.
Also, every time we talk about the 2311 Front Row Motorsports lawsuit, I always play the... So...
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Daniel Suarez announced he will not be returning to Trackhouse Racing for the 2026 season. I think a lot of people kind of saw this coming. The writing definitely... Or maybe not the writing was on the wall, but... Pitbull exiting the team as an owner,
Yeah.
definitely started leaving some breadcrumb trails to that, because I don't know which one's cause and effect, but they're both very patriotically Mexican, and I'm pretty sure Suarez was signed before Pitbull bought on, and then as soon as Pitbull leaves, it's like all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't have a guy pulling the strings to keep this guy around, or maybe it's the other way around, I don't know. But Suarez will be hitting the free agency market at the end of this year. Mixed feelings about this. I think Suarez has been okay. I think he's done a fine job. He's won 2 races for them. I think a big part of it is, Ross Chastain looks like maybe not right now a title contender, but Ross Chastain is a superstar in the making, and Suarez, it seems like he's in that group of guys like Bowman and Almirola and maybe Cindric are in this, and Eric Jones are kind of in this group of these guys who they're good. They can put together good runs, they can win on occasion, but they're not going to really elevate, And
they're going to put the car where the equipment is.
Exactly, yeah. So I don't think anybody's going to look at how Daniel Suarez has performed over the last 3 or 4 years and go, oh, he's been a disappointment. I think he's been fine. I think him winning was huge. He could drop down to Xfinity and be really good there, but I think he does want to be a Cup Series driver. because you see a lot of people talk about like, oh, I would just rather drop down and win races in an easier series, and I'm like, I don't think most people want to do that. Most people want to race the best, and they want to compete with the best. I mean, you can ask Elliott Sadler. The entire time he was in Xfinity, what was his goal? He wanted to get back to Cup.
Yep.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Do we know? I'm trying to think of what rides are available right now.
Well, I mean, the most popular idea, which I think is clearly what's going to happen probably, is everyone thinks that's Zilich's seat already, which isn't a shock. I mean, he's a phenom. He's a rising star. I mean, he won his first Xfinity race, or not his first. He won the COTA race earlier this season, and New York Times put out an article about him. Pretty big deal.
Well, I mean, he's the first driver in Xfinity Series history, I'm pretty sure, to win a pole, lead the most laps, and win on his debut. Like,
I mean,
yeah,
big
he's
deal.
Unreal.
And obviously, he has great backing from WeatherTech, Red Bull. I mean, he's got this money, the talent. He's got the superstardom. He's got everything. I think that's probably his ride, which probably did not help Suarez's situation. I think if Zilich doesn't exist, he probably has at least another year left at Trackhouse.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say that being said, with the circumstances, I mean, we spent half the half the silly season last year talking about if Suarez was going to return to Trackhouse or not. And they only signed a 1-year deal, and it was near the end of the season. So I feel like it was already an expectation that this might be his last year. So yeah, I think something not surprising, but I didn't think we would know it in July or the end of June.
Yeah,
that part was shocking.
Which, I mean, it makes sense too, because Zilich has been so good this year. Even in his 2 or 3 Cup starts, he's been phenomenal. But I was thinking about this, how you go into last year and it looks like Trackhouse's future is going to be Chastain, Suarez, and Zane Smith, and then you have Shane Van Gisbergen is like already ascending to be a Cup driver, and Connor Zilich, this other guy that they kind of pulled out of, isn't he from Trans Am, or where's Zilich from?
Yes.
Yeah. And then he immediately is like, oh shit, okay, this guy's ready, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we have 5 guys, and we're realistically only going to be a 3-car team. Like, Suarez, we kind of know what he is, right? We're not going to let Shane Van Gisbergen go. Like,
yeah,
he's here for 5 years, and then, we'll deal with that later. Connor Zilich seems like he's going to be a once-in-a-generation type talent. Zane Smith and Daniel Suarez seem like kind of the odd men out.
Yeah.
So I think somebody's going to get a very solid driver. But yeah, I don't think I can't say I'm super surprised by this.
Yeah, and when it comes to Zane Smith, that wasn't a surprising deal to me because Ford really did not want to lose him in the last offseason, or 2 off seasons ago now, I guess. The deal is they didn't have anywhere for him to go in Cup, and he wanted to be a Cup driver. So I think that wasn't too much of a surprise that they couldn't hold on to him because Ford really likes him and wanted him. But yeah, as for Suarez, I mean, he's just the odd man out. He's the oldest. I mean, Shane, I think, is older, but clearly, Shane is still working on his craft, and very recognizable name, very popular driver, as is Suarez. But yeah, like you said, he's just the odd man out. And if he stays Cup racing, I have to wonder if it would be with that other silly season news we're about to talk about here in a minute.
Well, the second on the sheet is Ryan Blaney fucks, but we're not talking about that. But we'll just skip over that one.
That's a real silly season right there.
Yeah, Rick Ware Racing sold to TJ. Is it Pucher or Puchier?
I do not know how to say his name.
Dude who helped co-found Spire Motorsports at the end of 2018. Yeah. He's taking over Rick Ware Racing. I gotta reread through this again, but I believe Rick Ware is basically hopping out entirely, right?
Not entirely, no.
Oh, okay, he's staying on as a partner, and Cody's going to keep driving. Okay, I just saw that.
Yeah, that was the funniest thing to me. That part of the sale clause was that Cody had to keep driving. Like, that is so funny to me. And I mean, it's not even anything about that. It's just like the fact that that's part of the agreement is hilarious. A guaranteed driver in a ride to someone that is buying your team is something that I don't think we've really heard of.
Yeah.
In the sport.
Well, and this whole
You never
situation,
see it again.
yeah, and the situation gets messier because they're currently leasing a chartered RFK. Legacy is pursuing legal action saying that it was like, y'all said that you're going to sell it to us. Like, what the hell?
Didn't they countersue like a week ago too?
Yes.
God.
Yes.
And then, but now they're like, no, actually, we want to keep it because we want a third charter so we can run 3 cars. So who knows what's going on? And this on top of the ongoing troubles between the 2311 FRM case and the talks of Dodge coming back into the Cup Series and the talk of more charters entering. It's a mess. So it's going to be
I'll
interesting.
tell you this much. Whenever Dodge comes in, there's your Dodge team right there, because that's the easiest way to get those new charters that he wants for those second and third cars again.
Yeah.
That's probably
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah, and I think if Suarez is going to stay in Cup, obviously it clearly hinges on the lawsuit that they're in right now. But if they were to end up with a second charter and Suarez wants to keep, if Suarez wants to keep Cup racing, there's his free open seat right there, because I'm not sure what other seats in the Cup Series are going to open up at the end of the year. There really aren't any that come to mind, so
Yeah,
I would have to think that's it.
Like, maybe if Ty Dillon were to go one and done at Colleague, although he's going to win Indy in a few weeks, so I don't see them doing that.
You could also move AJ back down to Xfinity and give him the 16.
Yeah, that too. Just keep moving AJ back and forth between the two series. Once again, AJ, I think you're in an abusive relationship and you need to get out, man.
I mean, I couldn't believe that AJ went back to the Cup Series anyway. They must have talked him into that, because he said 2 or 3 years ago that he didn't want to go Cup racing because he had fun in Xfinity. So I don't know what changed there, or if he just got talked into it, but
I think he got talked into it.
I can't say I'd be surprised if he went back down.
Yeah, that one's still interesting to me, because I wonder how much of that is just PR, because I still think that they moved him back down to Xfinity because they need, like, that was when Chandler Smith bailed on them at, like, the 11th hour, and I think they moved AJ down just to kind of save the Xfinity program, because I think it's easier to sell a Cup car as a rent-a-ride thing for sponsors than it is an Xfinity car.
I agree, yeah. There's a lot more money in Cup.
Yeah, and so I think that was part of it, and I wouldn't doubt that AJ probably finds Xfinity more fun, but I think also the competitive side in him was like, this is the best shot I have at, like, winning in Cup. And I mean, he's doing well this year. He's top 20 in points. He's 17th right now.
Yeah.
So
he's had
And he
a career
ended
year.
up winning 2 years ago.
yeah. So
Speaking of Colleague, if any of their Xfinity lineup changes, not that I see this happening, but that's another open seat that Suarez could fit into. If nothing else works out, like I said, I still think he fits at JRM, and him and Zilish just do a ride swap if he does go back down to Xfinity.
yeah, the JRM9
But-
car seems like a good fit. The Colleague
Yeah.
11 car,
Five
because
there.
Josh Williams has been invisible this year.
Yeah, as Daniel Dye has also been iffy.
Yeah.
He hasn't been Josh Williams, but he hasn't been Christian Eckes.
Well, it's
either.
funny. He's a point behind Christian Eckes right now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Eckes really hasn't been outstanding so far either.
Well,
Like,
Eckes has
on
been
Cole has just been kind of eh.
I was gonna say Eckes has been fast. They just don't finish races. I've definitely noticed that. He's not
Wow,
been
so
on
15th
par
in points.
with like AJ was last year, obviously, but like Eckes has been better than 15th in points. I feel like.
Yeah, 15th in points. I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
He also
definitely run.
caused the lap 3 wreck the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he has 5 DNFs. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Considering he has 3 more DNFs than Daniel Dye, that says a lot about where where he should be.
Yeah.
I think one of those was an engine failure though, but still, to your point, I think all three of them are still lower than where Colleague probably thought they would be. By
He's blown up twice.
God damn.
Yeah, he's blown up twice. That's rough. Yeah, but yeah, I agree. Colleague as an organization, they just, they had those years around COVID where they were pretty solid, and I mean, had a couple chances at a championship, and they just have never taken the next step in that competitiveness. And I'm not sure what they're missing, because it hasn't always been behind the wheel. That's for sure. I mean, Eckes dominated trucks last year in that McAnally truck. And
it feels like they've taken a step forward in Cup at the expense of Xfinity.
Yeah, which maybe isn't a bad thing.
And I think part of it too has been like, I think there was a lot of internal strife there for a couple of years, because during the Chandler Smith year that I was talking about, like after Atlanta, the race where Justin Haley like literally sabotaged him and Daniel Hemrick's race to
my god,
like still one of the most crazy things I've ever seen at the finish of a race. I called it there and I was like, something's going on at Colleague, like something is not right. And then that was a few weeks later, Justin Haley was leaving out of nowhere, and then Chandler Smith was leaving out of nowhere, and AJ Allmendinger was like, I don't even know what I'm going to be driving next year. And I was like, what the hell is going on at this team? So I think they're starting to kind of stabilize again. The swirling chaos that Smith and Haley were bringing towards the end of their tenure. But
yeah,
it's been interesting.
Ty Dillon is the ultimate stabilizer.
I'm telling you, dude. He's he's like Jeff Francoeur. You just hire him for the vibes. Like...
Okay, but real shit for a second. If they put him in an Xfinity car, I think he'd make the playoffs.
Ty Dillon?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can see it. And then finally, Larry McClure, former partial owner of Morgan McClure Motorsports, passed away in this last week. So thought we would give them a little shout out for one of the most iconic cars in NASCAR history.
There's been a run in the last couple weeks of older owners that have unfortunately passed away. I don't know how much of this you cover because I don't watch every week, but like there was Travis Carter a couple weeks ago, Charlie Henderson for the 75 truck last week, and then now Larry McClure. So rest in peace to all three of them, because they've all made such a large impact, but especially the four. I mean, like you look at that, the 90s and the early 2000s, that 4 Kodak car is always going to be one of the most iconic cars of that era.
I mean, just the sound of the X-Pipes at Daytona, that like the Sieg team is still running, like that was something that they came up with.
I love X-Pipes so much.
It's so good. So that was the shop. I guess we'll move on to a bottom split moment of the week. Who wants to go first?
Matt, can I drive us back to the shop real quick?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I did want to say it is Richard Petty's 88th birthday today.
Oh shit.
Hey!
Yeah. Happy birthday, Richard Petty, 88 years old. He's going to win the Daytona 500.
Okay,
Trevor
we can
Bayne.
drive out of the shop.
Alright. I wish I could play that sound effect backwards.
You need to do that. Just reverse it.
Wait, do I have... Here, wait, let me find a good sound effect to play here. Anyway, let's go to bottom split moment.
Hey, yo, cuz, what's this?
Alright. That's not even gonna pick up. Oh no, it is gonna pick up on the recording. Hell yeah. Anyway, who wants to go first for bottom split moment?
Dewey.
Sure. Okay, so like I said earlier, the experience at Lime Rock was fantastic, right? Great facility, great atmosphere, great everything. But my bottom split moment of the week is the absolute piss poor reception at that place. Because, oh my god, I could not send a single damn thing, call anybody the whole day I was there. And the only reason why I was able to is because I looked through the list of Wi-Fi networks that came up, and I happened to guess the password of one of them right.
Hacker man.
I felt so accomplished. I was like, ooh, man, they don't even know I'm doing this. But
you like to disclose your crimes.
But no, it is probably, like, of any sporting event, any concert, like any just event I've been to in my life, the single worst cell reception I've ever experienced in my life.
God, that's gotta be
But that's the
brutal.
only downside of that whole weekend. It was fantastic. Like, everything else that went on was just awesome to take in and experience. But good lord, was it hard to do anything in terms of, a cell phone.
God, where was it? I was somewhere recently where it was like that, where like half of the place I was at had reception and the other half didn't, and it was so annoying.
That's what Rockingham was.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Well,
it
not
was
only
funny.
that, too.
It was the opposite, because outside the track it didn't work, but for some reason in the grandstand it was fine, and I don't know why.
Well, see, for me it didn't work inside the track, and then outside the track for like a 3 or 4 mile radius it also didn't work. So it was just a massive dead zone in and around the track.
Oh, jeez.
The Lime Rock blackout.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, granted, the place is in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere in western Connecticut, where there's just no real built-up civilization besides, like, one town of 5,000 people or some shit. Like, I don't blame them for it being like that, but I think there's also stuff they could do to fix it. So, I don't know.
Dude, that's like when I was at Hangtown a few weeks ago for motocross. Like, I was surprised that there was cell reception because that track is in the middle of nowhere, outside of nothing. Like, it is literally just like rolling fields, and they're like, hey, let's build a dirt bike track here. It's near nothing. It's insane.
Yeah. So, for anyone that doesn't know where exactly Lime Rock is, it is about 90 miles northwest of New York City, and it is about 120 miles west of Boston.
Yeah, that's a big
And it's about
nothing.
It's about 55 miles south of Albany. There is literally nothing in that entire area besides Springfield, Mass. And even Springfield, Mass is like 50 miles from the track.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there's nothing around it.
So, like, I don't blame them for being like that at all, because, like, there's nothing else in that area anyway, but just a little bit frustrating to have to deal with, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
Austin, what was your bottom slip
overall-
moment? Oh, God.
No, I was gonna say, I'd still go back there. Still
Yeah.
great.
What did I do here? Oh, right. I bought the 87 Cup cars for iRacing this week because Draftmasters went there. I raced them for the first time. I found out the hard way that you cannot push, and I wrecked the dog shit out of some random guy.
You killed that guy.
We weren't even in the lead pack. It was for like 12th, and there was like 4 to go. It was really embarrassing.
Is
Oh,
shit.
no.
Yeah, Dewey witnessed. I dumped the shit out of him. So I am the bottom split.
So my bottom split moment is my truck's currently at the shop. It's fine. It's not broken down. It's like my truck's a hybrid, and it keeps it like once a week it'll throw a check engine light for like low battery voltage or whatever, but it still drives totally normally. So I took it to a Ford dealership because it's still under warranty, and I was like, "Yo, can you fix this?" And they'd be like, "I." And so they're replacing the whole battery pack for free, which is awesome. The annoying thing is it's not going to be done until next week, so I have to keep driving this fucking like rental courtesy car they gave me, which is like a new Ford Edge, and let me tell you, it is the worst piece of shit I've ever driven in my life. Oh my god. It is the worst transmission I've ever driven. It's never in the right gear, and it just like slams into gears constantly because it's like a 9-speed auto, so it sucks ass. And despite being an SUV, it has like the stiffest ride that I've ever driven. It feels like I'm in a fucking rock tumbler the whole time. And then to add on to it, the thing I like about my Maverick is it has a touchscreen in it, but it's small. And you still have physical controls for everything. This one just has one big-ass fuck-off screen. So every time I want to adjust the AC because it's 106 degrees because it's July in California, I have to fully take my eyes off the fucking screen to navigate a goddamn iPad that somebody duct taped to the dashboard. It sucks so hard. Why do they keep putting these fucking infotainment screens into the middle of a car? Like, I'm never going to be looking there. I'm supposed to be driving. I hate it.
Can't look there.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Faith, my girlfriend, used to have a Ford Edge, and It was not a great vehicle. It was an older one. It was not a newer one, but it not good vehicle. I share your sentiment.
I can tell you they haven't gotten better.
Okay, we are not in the market.
As I was talking to my mom on the phone the other day, and she's got like a 2001 Ford Escape, which is also not great. And I was like telling her about the rental I had, and I was like, if you're looking for cars, don't get one of these. Whatever you do. So yeah, I missed my truck. Road to Pro moment. Who wants to start?
Dewey.
Wow, look at me going first again. All right. So, so my Road to Pro moment of the week comes courtesy of what's going to happen at Chicago this weekend, and that is the partnership between Brad Perez and Redline Motorsports for the 45 car this weekend, where Redline Motorsports is owned by a bunch of local businessmen in Chicago and also football players at Area Smith, which is pretty cool. It's a little Oofsides fake racers crossover here. And they plan to run in at least one series, probably Xfinity or trucks next year, and they specifically want to run the 55 as an ode to the year 1955, which was the year of Rosa Parks' stand against segregation when she was arrested on the bus, and also the year that Emmett Till was tragically murdered after being falsely convicted of a crime. So a big like social justice movement behind this team, and partnering with Brad Perez is really fucking cool, and I hope this team succeeds wherever it starts up next year.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Hell yeah.
Looking forward to that. Austin, what's your Road to Pro moment that you totally didn't already tell us?
I will keep the story much shorter. I race in the OSORL, obviously, as does Davey is an admin over there, and Joe. And there's this one guy who's really good, no longer a part of the league, his own decision, whatever it may have been. Really good, won a lot of races over there, and I ran into him in an official, and I beat him, and that was very validating because I don't win anything. If you know me, I'm just not fast. And IndyCars at Pocono, that was my thing that day, I guess, and I won. So first iRacing win in 7 months, I think.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I'm on the road to pro, I guess.
Badass.
No, I'm not. But it was cool though. It was cool.
My Road to Pro moment, this one's going to be a little long-winded, and as a precursor, I'm realizing now is that I'm officially 30. By God, I'm aging. Is that, like, I am becoming so easy to, like, move emotionally when it comes to, like, art and just, like, sports in general. Like, I found myself crying watching a goddamn video essay about My Name is Earl the other day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. that's where I'm at in life. And so I've been an avid listener, or I was an avid listener of the football podcast around the NFL, like, since I found it in, like, 2018 or 2019. And if you haven't, that's, like, maybe my favorite podcast of all time. It was great. There's 4 dudes who were on it. It was Dan Hansis, Mark Sessler, Chris Wessling, Greg Rosenthal. And Chris Wessling lost his second battle with cancer back in 2020 on, like, the eve of the Super Bowl, and kind of completely changed the whole course of that show and everything. Like, the new studio ended up getting built was named the Chris Wessling Podcast Studio. And he's like remained this hugely influential figure in, like, NFL media since then. And last summer, during contract negotiations, the relationship between Dan Hansis and the NFL Network collapsed. Dan's contract was taken off the table. He left the company. Mark left with him in solidarity. Greg stayed behind for his own personal reasons with their blessings. And they've split off and formed 2 different shows. Greg still makes NFL Daily in the Chris Wessling studio. So, and, like, Chris's brother Nick is still, like, a frequent collaborator on it, so he's still a huge part of that. Dan and Mark's show is called Heed the Call, which was Chris Wessling's mantra. They all have it tattooed on their bodies and everything. Heed the Call is fucking fantastic. Go listen to it if you want a good podcast about football. It's, like, genuinely my biggest influence when it comes to things like this and Oofsides. And earlier this week, they were doing their final episode of their first season as kind of like a wrap-up. and they did a viewer voicemail segment. And like most of the voicemails were asking like, oh, what do you think the Packers are going to be this week? Or like, what's your favorite story from working at NFL Media? Or whatever, you know, just like typical sports radio shit. And then they got a call from a guy named Martin from Denmark. And his voicemail was like along the lines of how long he's been listening to their shows. And then he went into a story about years ago when he was in marriage counseling because his marriage was falling apart, and he had this moment where he realized that he was the problem, and he was like unable to even like address his own emotions and all this shit, like really kind of trauma dumping in this voicemail. And then he told a little anecdote about when he was driving and he pulled over and started crying because he heard the episode where it was about a year before he passed away, where Chris Wessling announced that he was going to become a father. And he talks about, he was like, it was like the first like big emotional breakthrough for me where I was finally able to like acknowledge something like that and like acknowledge my own emotions and things like that. And it you know, he ends up ending his voicemail, and the two guys on the show talk about that and like how much of an impact Chris had on their life and everything. And it was this really cool moment. And then they mentioned like, oh man, I hope you ended up working out things with your marriage. Like, you know, hopefully you guys are still together or whatever. And then he's like, all right, next voicemail. And the producer, without saying a word, hits the next voicemail, which is Martin again calling in to confirm that he and his wife are still together to this day. And like Dan, the host of it, literally just started like cheering out loud. And I'm not exaggerating. I almost cried listening to it at work yesterday. And it was just this moment where I was like, man, being human's fucking cool. Like, that I'm like emotional over somebody being emotional over two people talking about football that he's never met before in his life. And I was like, being human's cool, man. Just be alive. Enjoy
dudes rock.
Yeah, enjoy shit. Let yourself be emotional. It's manly to cry. I'm crying in the club over football. But yeah, just that whole story like genuinely made my day yesterday. And yeah, you know, let yourself be moved by things. And my cat's yelling at me now. Hi, Ziggy.
Well, I'm glad that you two had very emotional and powerful pieces for Road to Pro, and I talked about how I won a virtual race.
Hey, that's something in its own right. Winning races is hard.
But yeah, that's awesome though. I fully share that sentiment. I've always allowed myself to get very emotional about sports. Like, we all know what franchises I'm fans of. Not a lot of success there. So like every racing championship I've really enjoyed, and the Raptors are the only major like Big Four sports team I follow that have ever won anything while I've been alive. So yeah, sports especially. Man, you guys see those tweets or TikToks about like a woman tweeting, why do men get so emotional over sports? And it's just a compilation of, you know, the most heart-wrenching shit you've ever seen, or like heartwarming, you know, whatever things happening in sports. Yeah, that stuff's awesome. Sports. I'm giving a thumbs up. You can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to a few weeks ago when Daniel Suarez won in Mexico City, and I was like,
oh yeah,
punching air, and I was like, I'm not even like a huge Daniel Suarez fan, and I'm just like, this is just cool. Like,
that was just cool.
It's one of those things where like things like sports and art. I mean, I at this point I consider sports a form of art where it's like it's pointless, right? It has no effect on like society as a whole, but in that meaninglessness like comes a sense of meaning, because it's like, this is something that doesn't matter, but somebody is so dedicated to it that it clearly matters.
Like Shannon Sharp. Have you heard him talk about how much football meant to him, that he did not start a family because he knew he couldn't take care of a family because he was so focused on football.
Yeah.
Yeah, hearing him talk about that was really incredible, and yeah, it goes along with what you were saying.
Yeah. Enjoy the little things in life, man.
Yeah, and I will say, at working on the Daniel Suarez stuff, from Mexico. Yeah, there were a couple times where like just watching him get out and like how much it meant, and watching fans celebrate that with him right in front of them. Yeah, it's hard to not get emotional about that stuff.
Yeah, and like I think back to my Road to Pro moment from a couple months ago, where it was Malcolm Stewart, a guy who's been, who's lived in the shadow of his older brother in Supercross his whole career, and he finally won his first 450 Supercross race at his home race with his brother in the booth calling it. And I was like this is something that you would fucking write for a movie and people would tell you it's stupid. Like, and this happened in real life, and I was just like punching air, and I almost cried afterwards because I was so happy for him. Like,
and I don't know, obviously I don't know the whole context, but that reminds me of the Harrison Burton last year.
Yes. Oh, okay. That was so.
Yeah.
The other cool thing about that too is Lee Diffie called both of those finishes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, life's cool. I think originally my Road to Pro moment was going to be that the '96 Nazareth truck race is finally available to watch, and then Martin from Denmark came into my life, and I was like, oh fuck. So
yeah, which I do want to say, in case you don't know, I do work at NASCAR, and I work in the department that produces classics, and I gotta say, we found that not very long ago, and it was very exciting for us because we didn't know we had it, and when we found it, we were like, this is a big deal, we need to push this, and we did, and it has been a huge success for classics. And yeah, classics is such a cool thing. We find new stuff every single day, so
that's so awesome.
Yeah, that I don't personally work on it, but one of my coworkers that sits right next to me is the lead of it, and he is very, very, very passionate about it and wants to make classics just the best thing in the world and everything it is meant to be. And also get things onto the NASCAR channel for free on Tubi. So yeah, classics is a really cool thing, and Matt, I'm glad to hear that you especially enjoyed it.
Oh yeah.
Because decent amount of work went into it. We had even more planned, but the timeline was too short to get it all done, which doesn't matter. But
I still got to make a NASCAR Classics account. Fuck it, this is a fourth group Road to Pro moment, because like I'm a big fan of Lost Media, and like if you go on the Lost Media wiki, the '96 DeVilbiss Super Finish 200 is right on the front page. Like, holy shit, it's been found.
Nice,
and
that's
it's
awesome.
It's just cool because that's like in terms of like NASCAR Lost Media, that is one of the holy grails.
Yeah,
it was like that, and like Jimmy Spencer's 42 car from 02. Like, we've now got a picture of it. We're still waiting on like any footage of it on track. But it's like that's one of the big ones. Yeah. And so and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the only truck race that was never broadcast in any form, correct?
It was broadcasted.
Or never. Well, okay. Sorry. Let me it like wasn't played on TV, because they obviously recorded the whole thing, but it never nobody ever saw it,
Yes. No. It was played on TV. It was played. So that's an interesting deal because it was supposed to be a CBS broadcast, I believe, but it was rained out, and TNN took it over. But there's something in a gray area with the rights of that race still, and so they didn't run graphics, which is why on the Classics website there's no graphics.
Okay.
And it did not air live, but it aired overnight at 1 a.m. two days later. So essentially no one saw it.
Yeah,
but
okay.
It did air on TV. There is another race from '99 that does not exist and did not ever air on TV. I don't remember where, but in '99 there was a race.
Okay. Yeah, because I know there's also the 2000 Busch Series race at Texas that like had a similar thing, but there's just nobody can find any footage of it anywhere. But yeah, okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, because for a long time people have thought that race it never aired on tape delay, but it aired at an hour when nobody would have been up to fucking tape it. So okay,
yeah,
sense.
Exactly.
But yeah, so but if you're like the Truck Series is the same age as me, like there is a chance that like there are people who have watched every single Truck Series race except that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now you can finally check that one off the list. Like, this has been found. Like, I don't know. It's just cool. I like Lost Media.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, Lost Media is something really, really interesting. And being on the inside, obviously I won't talk about it all on here, but learning about how things worked and how things work now and how they used to work. I mean, I'll just be honest. It wasn't a thought how big some things would be in the future. And, you know, you don't know what technology is going to be like. And so you really had people just kind of winging it. And, you know,
Yeah.
people learning as they go and things like that. And so that's what leads to these situations. That and the money was different back then. You know, all sorts of things. Just such a big scope of things.
Yeah. Well, like I go back to like how Super Bowls 1 and 2 for a long time were lost. Like there's some NFL Films footage, but like the broadcasts, nobody saved them. Because I don't think anybody involved with the NFL or AFL was like, this is going to be the biggest fucking thing in the world. Like, this isn't just going to be, a big game that people are going to tune into. No, this is going to be the thing that everybody watches together. Like, when you think of monoculture, like, there are very few things in the world that still capture the entire, like, world's attention, and the Super Bowl is one of them.
Yeah, right there with the World Cup.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was our Road to Pro moments. Go sign up to NASCAR Classics so Austin still has a job.
Yeah, please.
Anyway, that was the Fake Racers podcast. We appreciate you watching and listening. Joe and Davey should both be back this week. Make sure to like and comment on the video if you're watching on YouTube. Drop a rating or follow us if you're on Spotify, and you can find us on Twitter at Fake Racers. You can also follow Track and Turf for all the projects here on YouTube, on Twitter at track_and_turf. Do you guys have anything you would like to plug?
No. Other than
NASCAR Classics.
Yeah, go NASCAR, and I hope everyone listening to this episode rests easy tonight.
Yeah.
Plug.
God damn it. As for me, we are planning, or we're gonna start planning for an Oofsides Oof season wrap up. So a lot of shit's been happening. Also, I got an interesting comment from one of my friends who she told me to make. She's not a racing fan at all, and she told me that I need to make more episodes of Disqualified because her Spotify, whenever she's listening to another podcast, it auto plays the last episode of Disqualified every time. And she's like, I like listening to you ramble about things, and I'm tired of hearing the same one over and over and over again. So please make another one. So
that's awesome.
I'm planning on actually like buckling down and writing a script for that. I have a new format idea for that involved. I literally bought the autobiography of a specific driver who drove for this team, who has very interesting things to say about it, and I've read about half of it and I haven't finished it yet. So this is me announcing it publicly to get myself to finally fucking do it. I'm going to try to get more Disqualified episodes. I'm assuming Davey and Tommy will be there. If not, I don't know, maybe we'll change up the cast. Who knows? It all depends on who's available to do it, but I want to make stuff, so look for that. Other than that, I don't have anything else to plan or to plug. Plug. And on that note, we'll see you next time on the Fake Racers Podcast. Goodbye.
Goodbye.